Hello, everyone. We are here for another impact story
Yep.
in honor of 25 years of ministry. We're doing 25 stories throughout the year. And as we were looking at the calendar and what we were going to do, there was a name that we had to do a story on.
Right.
And then we were like, that's going to be a hard one to do. And it's going to be interesting. So Penny is actually who we are here to talk about today, which this is really bizarre for me because I'm usually on the either behind the camera or, but I don't know that I've ever interviewed. Well, I've interviewed you once, Jim.
Yes, you have.
But certainly not Miss Wanda. Yeah. And so I'm excited to kind of facilitate this conversation as we talk about Penny. But not everybody even knows who Penny is.
Right. That's true.
So let's start there. Who is Penny?
So Penny is my sister.
And my daughter.
And her daughter.
And for those of you that don't know, that would make Miss Wanda Jim's mother.
Oh, my word.
If you're having a hard time making that connection. That's what I'm here for.
My mom is in the house.
So Miss Wanda is here for...
You have to behave.
That is true. We didn't even think about that.
So Ryan, the interesting thing is that Penny was our longest serving board member.
Okay.
Over the last 25 years. She was part of our family group that originally started Lift, and later on she became known as other things that were much more affectionate other than just a board member or Jim's sister. But she was someone that has made a huge impact on the life of ministry of Lift Disability Network.
Yeah. And so, but I should have asked more questions before. She never lived here in Central Florida, though. Right?
No.
So she always served from afar, but she was very involved.
Very active. She was here 2 or 3 times a year. Of course, being my sister, we talked often on the phone, and when I'd had ideas or things I wanted to talk about, I would talk with her first before I'd talk to anybody else. And so she was kind of my best friend.
Mm-hmm. And so what are just a few of the ways, obviously a board member, so she was part of the decision-making group that was a part of Lift. But what are some ways that she just served?
So Penny,
both of y'all can answer this.
Yeah, I don't know, Mom. Do you know anything about Penny's service with Lift?
Well, I just know that she was always so excited to be a part of whatever Lift was doing, and she was right there, to give suggestions and offer, different kinds of ideas and so forth. And so Lift was just one of the most important factors in her life as far as serving.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. When I would talk with her, she said, Jim, that Lift is my ministry, and she always, it was always her ownership as much as it was mine or Renette's. And so she and my mom and my brother and my dad, they're all the inspiration behind Lift. And that was to take care of family members that were, living with a person with a disability. And so she not only knew the inside of the ministry, but she knew the heart of the ministry and the heart existed. Because she lived it,
Yeah.
And so she was a huge part of what helped us make Lift and what created that to be what it is today. As far as her roles were concerned, she was a major volunteer. So anytime we had a huge event, she would fly into town or drive down from her home in North Carolina, and she would participate in things like Give Back or things like her big claim to fame was Breakaway.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that's, because Breakaway certainly
Right.
was like she was a icon.
And I will make one other note. Another part of what she did for Lyft was she contributed every month. And she would give she started out at $25 a month, and she became one of our top donors over time. Just the accumulation of all those
that consistency.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a crazy thing.
That's really cool. Let's back up just a little bit, though. You talked about the heart of Lyft, and I think a lot of people know the backstory, but not everybody. But the reason why Lyft even started is because you had such a strong family support system around you. Barriers were removed from your life in order to help you succeed at whatever you wanted to do. But not every family and a person with disability had those same options.
Right.
So let's walk back through that and talk about how Penny was involved even in your childhood, whether that be not just a normal sibling, but she was also probably partial caregiver at times. And so can we talk about that just for a little bit?
Absolutely. Mom, you want to jump in there?
I wanted
and how much, what's the age
so
difference?
Penny was 3 years and a few months older than I
Okay,
was.
so very close.
Yeah.
Okay, so how was she involved in that childhood?
Penny was more like a little mother to the boys. I have two boys, and Penny, and so she was the oldest, and so she just more or less mothered them, so to speak, and she just inspired Jim in anything that he wanted to do. Penny was his referee. I mean, support. She was the one that was there, giving him instructions and telling him how to do it. And, you can do this. Just urging him on. You know?
She loved to boss me.
I was about to say, was that always welcome, Jim, or was that sometimes not always welcome?
I remember the hardest slap in my face I've ever had came from my sister.
Was that a fight, or was that trying to get you going?
Well, no, man. Once I got that, I was not fighting back.
Yeah, we were really, their dad and I was really busy all of the time. And so after they became a little older, after Penny got, a little bit older, then we would leave her with the boys for a little time, And then, so after... a little while, the boys would, they didn't want to say a minder or, do what she was saying.
She let us know.
And so we told the boys, okay, Penny is in charge. She has to make the decisions. So whenever you want to do something, you have to go through Penny. And so we left her in charge of the boys. And so there was times whenever...
Well, all I got to say is I think she took advantage of it.
Well, as any big sister would do, right?
But she was she loved these boys, I tell you, just like if they were her own children.
Yeah, she was fierce and not only just, helping to raise us, but she was fierce in our protection. I remember one time my brother got into it with a little scrap with some of the neighborhood boys, and man, my sister came out with a baseball bat. She was something.
And I know that relationship, even from a very young age, that's really a big part of the inspiration for Lyft and the demographic that we serve. Isn't just a person with disability, but it's really the entire family unit. And I hear Jim talk so many times about the siblings. I know that very near to Jim's heart, is serving the siblings of a person with disability.
That's right.
Because you understand what, the weight that they carry as well. And Penny certainly carried the weight of your disability. And early on in childhood as well. And
it was interesting. My sister actually went on to get a social degree and social services degree, and got involved in doing, programs for people with disabilities from a professional background. And I think a lot of that was steered by what she learned growing up as a child, you know, and just trying to help other kids, and then the impact of Lyft had on her in her life. And so it's really interesting to see the dynamics. I think one of the things that helped me with the development of Lyft was just talking with her and my brother about the dynamics that were taking place in their life while I was facing my own disability. And so it's remarkable. But you know, I have to say that one of the things that was really an earmark for me was my mom and dad, my brother and sister. They treated me like I was just a normal part of the family.
Yes.
They held me accountable. They made me contribute, and we laughed a lot together, and we struggled together. And then in moments where society's governance were not favorable to me, my family fought for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love that. And I think that's so crucial, especially for a young person going through their disability journey, is to have things that are expected of them. You know?
Yeah.
And I've heard you talk about that so many times, that you know, there were expectations that, you know, Jim had to pull his weight around the house
Absolutely.
and in the family, and
Yes.
it wasn't just here I am and I've got a disability, so serve me.
Mom and Dad made sure of that one.
Yeah.
I think that's a vital part, though, and Penny certainly helped with make sure you were pulling your weight as well.
Exactly.
She did that.
Exactly.
She was going to tell on you when you didn't.
You know, I think we had a really normal relationship that, you know, in that regard. I think, you know, even later on in our careers, we were honest with each other, and we just said, you know, what we believed, and it was really cool.
Well, we always expected the same thing out of Jim as we did the other two.
Yeah.
You know, to his ability, whatever he could
Sure.
do. We said, and Penny was one of the biggest ones that would say this, but I also agreed that we would tell Jim, there's nothing that you cannot do if you set your head to it.
Yeah.
You know, there is a way to do what, you know, you really want to do.
Yeah.
And so I remember when Jim was trying to make up his mind about going to college, and no matter what the government said about him, he just absolutely, you know, refused it. He refused their aid, their help, to go to the college that he chose, which would give him a more biblical background.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, and Penny was his cheerleader. You know, go Jim, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was that for sure.
Well, let's delve into some of the roles that Penny played, because I know that these were such a vibrant part of her life as well.
Right.
It wasn't just my brother runs a nonprofit and I'm going to help him.
That's right.
But it was really something that she took ownership in.
Yeah.
So we have some pictures actually that we'll put
fun.
up on the screen as well.
Yeah.
But I think these first few are from Give Back, and there's a whole video on Give Back that we'll show here soon. But can y'all talk about a little bit of the one picture I've been told is somebody was asking who was in charge. And Penny in this picture kind of put the pole down, is like, I am in charge.
Yeah.
She never.
And I don't know if that was her personality in a lot of things, but she wanted to make it known.
She did not let me. I mean, she was bound to be in leadership for sure.
So, what was Penny's role in Give Back, though?
She was just one of the steering committee people, and she was really dedicated to being a volunteer the day of the event. And like I said, she would come down from North Carolina, and she would be very, very active in Give Back and setting everything up and getting the day of the event ready to go for our guests to come in. And
this wasn't a small event. This was massive.
This is like we would have 400 or 500 people come in the door, and we had to be ready for that. And when you're packing 1,000 shoe boxes or 2,000, it just takes a lot of stuff and a lot of management. And she was really good at that. I think the great thing about my sister was she would always just take on the smallest task or the biggest ones, whichever was needed. That's where she would go, and then she was an incredible person of just acceptance and encouragement for people. She just come alongside them and tell them they're doing a great job and just love on them and let them know that they were accepted.
Penny was more a backstage person.
Okay.
Right.
She wanted to be there to help everybody else be front, but she wanted to stand back.
Yeah.
And she was always there for you if you needed her, and she was the same way for me and her dad. But I have a scripture. Can I read it?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
That really applies to my daughter.
Okay.
So much. And so this morning, as I was reading, I said, oh my, I just have to, tell them. But it's found in Mark's writings, the 10th chapter. And I'll start down in the 43rd verse. But it says, you are to lead by a different model. If you want to be the greatest, then live as one called to serve others. Mm-hmm. The path to promotion comes by having the heart of a bondslave.
Yeah.
Does this not describe Penny?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. And it says, a bondservant who serves everyone.
Yeah, she did.
For even the Son of Man did not come expecting to be served by anyone, but to serve everyone and to give his life as the ransom price for the salvation of many. My daughter was a giver. And she never wanted the spotlight.
Well, it's because she had me.
But she would promote, her brothers, both of them. And she just really loved ministry of any kind. And she also validated that whenever she was working, on the job, the public job she had. And her coworkers just talked about that so much. Yeah. About her.
And what a legacy to have that be said of you. Mm-hmm. Someone that truly understood what it means to serve, but also this is the model that Jesus laid out for us.
Absolutely.
And to have someone say that about you. Yeah. That you did that and you did that well. Yeah. What a legacy.
Yeah, and I think that even showed in her contribution to Breakaway.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I want to talk about Breakaway.
Yeah, Breakaway was huge. My sister was so involved right from the very beginning with Breakaway.
Exactly.
And some of these pictures, Penny liked to have a good time too.
She did.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she did really. I mean, we're gonna.
She liked to dress up. She was a good sport with everything.
Yep.
I'm not even sure what's happening in this picture.
I'm not either. Oh man!
But Breakaway, she made a massive impact.
Massive impact,
especially at Breakaway.
Yeah, so she ran the front desk and the front foyer area of Breakaway, and so whenever guests would come in or volunteers or during registration times and all that stuff, she was always there to serve. She ran our store. And as well as being one of the people that helped us make huge decisions during the week of camp. Yeah. If there were crises that came up, she was always in that group of decision makers. And but one of the greatest legacies that she left with Breakaway was she ran the popcorn machine. And it always smelled like popcorn. It always smelled like popcorn in there. And the kids started calling her Grandma Popcorn. And so that's what everybody remembers my sister from at camp, is Grandma Popcorn.
I love that nickname. And I have a story about the popcorn machine.
Yeah.
That you know about. But we were using the popcorn machine for a different event. This was probably like a year ago. And I went to pick it up, and all I hear is just this, like, it sounded like popcorn kernels hitting the bottom of it.
Right.
But it had been just sitting in our storage for a while. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, maybe somebody didn't clean it out. So I pull the cover off, and the glass is just shattered. I mean, it is gone. There is no glass, just the frame.
Oh,
no. And my heart began to race. And I was so stressed out, y'all.
That's funny.
Because I thought I had broken Penny's popcorn machine. And then I'm like living with this for a couple hours before you and Ronnie came into the office. And I said, I got to tell you something.
He was all nervous.
And I said, the popcorn machine, I don't think it was me, but I think the popcorn machine is broke. And I thought it was just going to be hysteria because of the connection to Penny. And Ronnie was like, oh, that popcorn machine already broke. That's not.
We bought a new one after that.
I was like, oh. Whew.
We're like, we've only had that one that broke for about a year. And he goes, oh, really?
I felt so much better about breaking that popcorn machine. Well, Penny certainly made an amazing impact, and the lives we'll never know.
Right.
The number of people, and
exactly.
especially for someone that leads by serving. A lot of times it is the smallest thing, like popping popcorn.
Yes,
that makes an impact, and
Right.
and you like there's no trophy for that right here on earth, at least. Like, oh, there you go, that's the impact, and you line up. Right. But it's oftentimes those unseen interactions with people, and we lost Penny a couple years ago.
Now you're gonna make us cry.
I'm not trying to, but we lost Penny a couple years ago to COVID, and I think it was in her loss that we really began to see what all she did. And there were so many things, especially at camp, that we just had no idea. She was just doing them without anybody asking. And man, those first couple years after Penny had passed were really rough for us because we weren't prepared for them, because she had just started doing things. She saw a need, and she would say, well, I can do that. And she did it without anybody knowing, oftentimes. And man, we knew we had some big shoes to fill, but we had no idea the magnitude of those. And we're just so thankful. And she'll never be replaced.
Never.
But we carry on, right? And we try to serve in a way that would honor Penny. And actually, we have this picture, and I love that when we were able to do this, Jim. Do you remember? This wasn't last year.
She died in 2021, so it was that following summer.
Okay. Yep. And so this lives out at Lake Yale, and it's out by the dock, I believe, and it's got a little plaque there, and Penny's, because that's really was a place that was so special to her.
That's true.
Even though it was just once a year for a few days. But it really, I think it was so impactful for her because she was able to serve in such a major way.
Yeah.
Well,
Mom, thanks for coming by.
You're welcome.
This wasn't too bad. I didn't even have to pull out the tissues.
Honor, yes.
Well, I love, in a very small way, just being able to help carry on that legacy of Penny. And honor her as every time I smell popcorn at camp, I think of Penny. And I know that seems so silly, but I think so many people have that same memory of her. And man, I could only hope
Yes.
that one day when I'm gone, that people would speak of me the same
Yeah.
way that we were
Yeah.
able to speak of Penny.
Well,
So
we really appreciate it. We
Mm.
really do, and I can just hear Penny now. You know, she would not want.
stop making a
Yeah.
fuss.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough. But yeah, I really appreciate it though,
Hmm.
because Lyft was really her. She just loved it.
And Jim, one of the things that we've been doing with the people that we do the videos for is we talk about the most impactful moments that Lyft has made on them.
Right.
Could y'all even begin to answer that for Penny? Like, what was the biggest impact that Lyft, the ministry of Lyft, had on Penny's life?
Oh wow.
I don't know.
I can't even think because there were so many. You know. That,
I can think of one really fast for her, and about her, but the impact that Lyft had on her.
for her, she was just not one to ever express her feelings very much.
Hmm.
You know, she kept those. She was just like her dad, really.
Yeah.
I think the one word though would be family.
That was important.
Yeah.
That was important.
And she just was so interested in Lyft moving forward.
Yeah.
To be able, because Jim had shared so much of his vision and his, desire and so forth from the very beginning, and Penny was right there behind him. And so she just wanted to see it continue to blossom. And
Yeah.
I just wish she could see now
Yeah.
the things that's happened just in the last couple of years to Lyft, and how it is moving forward
Yeah.
in such a powerful way.
Yeah.
I appreciate that so much.
I think she would be proud.
Yes.
Yeah. We miss you, Penny.
Well, this
Yeah,
has
we
been
do.
fun. So thank you, Jim
Yeah.
and Miss Wanda, for
Yeah.
coming in and talking about Penny.
Thank you. Yeah.
And we look forward to sharing so many more stories
Yes.
over the past 25 years of Lyft Disability.